Well, I've had a lot of other projects to work on, but now I want to see if I can get this engine running. So we'll uncover it, pull it up to the shop, and see what we can do. Let's throw the battery back in it and see what it does or doesn't do. Now, from what I understand, the guy that owned this was real good about keeping the oil changed and maintaining the engine. Of course, the mower's in rough shape, but I'm just interested in the engine, getting it going and seeing if I can use it on another mower. See if I can pop the hood off. There we go. I don't need the headlights. The first thing I want to do is check the oil, make sure there's some in there. It actually looks like it's overfilled, which is okay. I'm just trying to get it, see if it'll kick over, see what it'll do. If it runs, then I'll get some oil out of there. It's not good to have oil overfilled. It's hard on the seals, and it's not overfilled that much. It's just over that full mark. So that's not a concern. Now, one thing I notice is one of the spark plugs isn't hooked up. I don't know what the purpose for that is. We'll go ahead and hook that up. And here's a wire hanging. I don't know if that's from the coil or what. And the gas is over 3/4 of a tank right here. So we got plenty of gas in here. Oh yeah, almost full. Put the brake on. Well, that battery might not be any good. I'll go ahead and jump it to a good battery. We'll check for spark. Touch the base of your spark plug to metal and you're looking for spark here. Oh yeah, we got spark. Now this particular engine is called an opposing cylinder engine. One cylinder goes out this side and one out the other side. And they have one coil that runs both cylinders. A little different, not two separate coils. And I heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but the owner, I think, said they put a new coil on there, but I'm wondering what that ground wire is sitting there. And we'll check for spark here. And we've got spark there. So we've got spark. Now let's check the fuel. It's like a brand new filter. I can see fuel down in the carburetor. Give it a little shot of starting fluid. Hey! Why'd you stop? It sounded decent. I guess maybe it's not getting fuel. Aha! We've got a fuel problem here, I think. Well, one thing I don't like is working on something that's so full of mud and grease that you can't figure it out. And all around this carburetor and the block of the engine, it's full of mud. So I'm going to go ahead and pressure wash it real quick. I'll keep the water away from the carburetor and the starter. and then we'll dig in a little further. Well, maybe I got a little carried away there, but I might be able to use that seat, and those tires have been fine. It's been sitting for a long time, so those might come in handy too. Also, that was so dirty. If you keep the fins and the engine clean, all that grease and dirt off there, it'll run cooler. So that was necessary. I don't know why this wire is hanging here doing nothing. I think it's from the coil, and it might be the kill wire, but I want to take this flywheel cover off and see what's going on in there. Aha! There's our coil. That's our kill wire. Not hooked up. Alright, we got it all cleaned up. Now we can go to work, see what's wrong with it, and see if we can get it fixed. And if we do, it'll run a lot cooler. Okay, that kill wire hanging loose shouldn't be, but as long as it's not touching any ground, part of the engine or metal, then that shouldn't be a problem. The engine should still start and run. If that wire touches ground, then it'll kill the engine, stop the engine. That needs to be hooked up somewhere, but you can still run an engine without it. All you have to do is pull the choke and choke it out, and that'll stop it running. But I've got a fuel problem here, I'm pretty sure, even though I was told it had a electrical problem. So I want to see if the carburetor's gummed up or the fuel pump's not working or something. So here's our carburetor. I've got the choke closed because I don't want to drop screws down there and stuff. But here's the fuel line coming in. This is your inlet line here, coming from the gas tank back there. And this line here pulls the fuel into the carburetor. So either we've got a clog in here somewhere or the carburetor's gummed up. Should have suction on this line here. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, hold my finger on it, and see if I've got suction on here. Hey, what's going on? Wow! We do have suction on this line here, and it was running with the choke on, but then it quit. Well, that was a surprise. And I wonder too if maybe there's condensation in the gas. Now what I'm going to do is disconnect the fuel line here, and I'm going to let some gas run off, because if you've got condensation, if you've got water in your tank, it always settles down to the bottom. That's what you're pulling first. So I'm going to run some of that off and see if we've got water in it, and then try to start it. Wow, I just blew on the tank and I'm getting nothing coming through there. So there must be a clog in the fuel line between the tank and the filter. I'm not recommending anybody do this, but from time to time I'll try blowing on the tank to see if I can get fuel to the carburetor, or in this case fuel through the line. And we got nothing. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to bypass the tank. I've got some gas here. You want to be real careful. This isn't a textbook example on how to do this. Open gas, it's just not good. I'm not recommending you do this, but I'm just doing this to test it out. but that's not coming out of the exhaust. That's just on the exhaust and burning off the grease from when I cleaned it up. So if I want to fix this, I've just got to fix a restriction in the fuel line or gas tank. And if I want to use it on my other mower, I've got a good engine. All right, while I wait for the air compressor to pump up, I'm going to try something with the clog in the fuel tank. I'm going to go ahead and put this all back together, make a couple adjustments since we know what's wrong. Now what I'm going to do, take the fuel cap off. It's got 3/4 of a tank of gas in it. And here's the other end of the fuel line. I'm going to blow in that, and hopefully we'll see bubbles coming up out of there. And there may be a filter at the end of that, the bottom of that tank. And that might be what's clogging that up. I'm trying to avoid taking the whole chassis off and everything in the tank and having to clean that all out. If I can get that to break free, I can take all the gas out of there and clean the tank from the top, vacuum it out, and maybe not have to deal with all that. So let's go ahead and give it a try. We got it working that way. Now let me see if I can blow on the tank and get some to come through the fuel line. No, just pressurizes the tank. Well, I reached up in there as far as I could underneath, and I don't feel anything wrong. There might be a line pinched in there or something. So I'm going to go ahead. I think it's just 4 bolts to pull the chassis off. So we'll pull this off and see if we can see something better. And disconnect the switch for the seat. Set these aside, and there's 2 more bolts right by the foot pad. And these nuts are right underneath here. You lift this pad up, it's not glued down. That might do it. Little carriage bolt. Now let's see if it'll move. Oh yeah. Now we can pull this knob off. Alright, you rascal. Oh, here's another pressure washing job. Doggy. Aha! You son of a gun! Can you see that fuel line up in there? She's kinked! Mercy, mercy, mercy. So I'm going to pull that line down, and I'm going to pull it forward. Take that kink out of there, and this fuel line's not cracked or anything. There we go. And I'm going to pull it forward to take the, take the slack out. Now I bet if I hook that up, she's going to run. Let's hook it up. See what it does. Now to try this out without the seat on it, I'm going to have to bypass this switch or complete this switch. So I'm going to put a little wire in here. Tie that together, and I'll push the fuel through since we had that all disconnected and everything. I can see it pushing through the fuel filter, so we'll give it a good starting chance there. Cap back on, choke on, everything clear, brakes on. And there we go. Boy, it runs nice. we go. That's what that kill wire's for. It goes back to the ignition, tied into the key, so when you turn the key off, it makes this ground connection. I just got to find out which wire goes with that and hook this up. Now, I'm not going to hook it up right now. This kill wire here either has to go to this wire or there's another one over here. I don't think it goes to that. It's a single wire here. And the way I'm going to test that is I have this set to check continuity, 20,000 ohms. And so I'm going to hook one lead up to the kill wire. And this other lead, I'm going to touch this. And right now we've got continuity. So that means it's grounding it out. I've got the key off. So that would make sense. Turn the key off. We've got a complete connection here, which is going to shut off the engine. Key on. That's our wire right there. So the engine's running. And then when we turn the key off, we've got continuity, which means it's connected now, so it shuts the engine off. So I think this is the wire here. So I'm going to leave this lead over to this side. I'll be able to access that later. And to keep that fuel line from pulling back and kinking back there, I put a zip tie on here, nice and snug, but it's not pinching the line. And that'll keep that from pulling through there. All we've got left is to throw the hood back on. Slide that down. Good. Now let's test her out. I know my battery's a little weak. Choke on.